working woman. A few days later, when I was on the street, I experienced a sudden sense of foreboding, a runaway premonition, an absolute chaos of my nervous system. I noticed that the store where the year before I'd ordered an exercise bike had closed. Bankrupt businesses are, I thought, minor details in an organism whose heart is still breathing at full capacity and shouldn't alarm me. That's what I said to myself when I arrived at the Plaza de Aluche shopping mall, from the dome of which snowflakes were being blown onto the ashen street. There were signs advertising the January sales, and the stores were full. Despite it being an everyday scene, there was something not quite normal about the bustling crowds. Something reminiscent of outlying French boulevards where the indecisive clientele take their time milling in front of store windows. I boarded a bus. I needed to see more, and as the vehicle sped up, everything around it slowed down, as if the dogs were taking twice as long to sniff corners and the trunks of plane trees. The only people not on the move were the retirees, sitting on benches in the hazy sunshine. An ordinary scene, even if there did seem to be too many of them, and the way they were bunched together in certain squares, under statues and around particular official buildings, offered a different, distorted reading. For a few seconds, those old people became monsters, looking at me with cajoling smiles. It took me some time to find the appropriate words to express that perception, to recognize they were visions. I noticed the throb of my pulse in my ears, and this thought also occurred to me. Someone or something is sending me a warning. For a while I was poised on the verge of collapse. The bus moved away from the parasites. I tried to speak. The blood wasn't reaching my hands and feet. They were cold, dry. They were going to detach themselves from my body. When I took a step, I couldn't feel the ground, and I grabbed at a woman's coat. "Are you drunk?" she asked, disapprovingly. I managed to alight from the bus. There was still no ground under my feet, and I had to support myself against the buildings. Then I sat down in a doorway and stayed there for, I don't know how long, until my sense of touch returned. It occurred to me that I was crazy. I formulated this thought 10, 20 times. I walked. Movement was painful. The lacerating rumble of traffic, the tense, high-pitched voices of friends chatting in doorways, the people walking behind me, their breathing, their bodies were too close. I was intolerable, even to myself. I wanted to tear my body to pieces. I got to the apartment and walked through all the rooms, including Susanna's. Then I flopped onto the bed. I tried to brush away the sensation that a catastrophe was making me its epicenter. But everything continued to feel unreal. I started walking, slowly this time, around the apartment. Went to the kitchen and looked at the stove. In the living room, I observed the old table and the shelves crammed with grubby books. Objects were giving off a heavy existence that was crushing me. I went back to bed and fell into an exhausted sleep. I woke with the sense of helplessness and anxiety that was worse than my earlier perceptions, or at least that's what I initially thought. But then I began to take control of myself, to find the energy to search for information about my unwelcome agitation on the web. I typed in schizophrenia, then psychosis. I hadn't heard voices. I'd seen masks. I asked myself, as the screen what the essence of my experience was. I found these 2 words, panic attack. And then I remember the period when Haman used to faint during meetings. I called him. I'm having panic attacks, I said, and I think I'm going mad. It felt fabulous to talk, to weave phrases and to name. Amazing that my voice hadn't turned into the clatter of cans tied behind a wedding car. The act of speech, installing an order, relaxed me, and I went on giving Haman different versions of the same situation. I'm having panic attacks. I think I'm going mad too. Stop, Elisa. They are just panic attacks. That's why you think you're going mad, he told me. Or maybe I heard him for the first time, and he'd been repeating it all the while.